Yeah, happy to actually be able to present on your user group. So thank you, Renku, Sumit, and yeah, the other guy I haven't been in contact with, but I know that there's the three of you. Yeah, so today's presentation is on, it's part of Sitecore XM Cloud, BYOC, which stands for Bring Your Own Components. Yeah, first, every presentation, a little bit about me. My name is Robbert Hock. I'm based in the Netherlands. I'm like Rinku said, I'm a 15-time Sitecore MVP. Been doing Sitecore since 2008 for like 17 years now. Since 2011, I'm operating basically on my own, freelancing, contracting. And I'm mostly working as a lead developer, Sitecore solutions architect. Yeah. The last 3 years, I've been mainly doing like headless with Sitecore, mostly on-prem Azure PaaS, but then headless with Next.js, but also with ASP.NET Core. I've done some projects. Yeah, so I'm one of the original founders of the Sitecore user group, which I ran for like, I don't know, 10 years or something. But I handed that over, and from SUG we actually basically started with the famous SUGcons, which are held every year in India as well. So I'm married. I got 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy, 17, 15, and 13. My hobbies besides Sitecore is watching movies. Love to do some cycling. I love to watch a good soccer game. Other interests of myself are basically the whole digital experience platform space, besides Sitecore, but also blockchain. Of course, AI is coming up, and yeah, I'm frequently blogging, I guess, on my blog. So you can find that at kynl.blog. I created an agenda for today, where we walk through the number of ways that we can do component development with XM Cloud. But today's presentation will mainly focus on BYOC. So I'll run you through the prerequisites, the features, the different rendering modes of BYOC, how to build, and then I'm going to have a more extensive look at the schema form. And then we're going to do a demo and see it in action. So I created two scenarios. One that is basically a little bit of a simpler scenario and a little bit more advanced scenario. And yeah, after the presentation, I'll show you the documentation links, but I'm also going to upload the code that I've written, and it's basically not a lot, but I'm going to open source that on GitHub. So let's dive into the first topics and the 3 ways of component development. I just had a brief introduction with Renku already before this meetup, and yeah. So currently, the 3 ways of component development are basically Next.js, JSS for XM Cloud. Then we have so the JSS Next.js components, they are highly optimized components where we can use like the next image component to get like image optimizations. It requires that you set up your templates, your renderings all in Sitecore. Yeah, you can basically with Next.js and JSS, you can only map XM Cloud CMS data to those components because of the templates, of course. One of the benefits for Next.js JSS development is that it offers like inline field editing in Pages, but also in the experience editor. The second option of doing component development is the components builder, which is that front end as a service. Yeah, it's basically a low code, no code drag and drop application where data can be mapped to XM Cloud CMS data, but you can also, for example, map data to like external sources from other CMSs. Yeah, Components Builder can also it works very well in Pages. But one of the downsides, I guess, in Components Builder is that all the styling, the fonts, it has to be set up in Components Builder. So it's a complete separate application compared to when you have your code in your repository for your Next.js and JSS applications. And yeah, the third one is bring your own components. So one of the benefits is we don't have to do any templates anymore, rendering parameters, rendering setup in Sitecore, because the whole configuration of a bring your own component is done through code. That's where we get into like that JSON schema format, but I'll touch upon that a little bit later. One of the downsides of BYOC is that you don't get any inline field editing in the experience editor and Pages. So you basically select the component and then on the right-hand side in XM Cloud, and I'm going to demo that later on, you can do the field configuration. So it's completely different than Next.js and JSS components. One of the benefits is you can actually map a BYOC component. You can actually do the configuration data in the component. So it will store that data as a JSON format in the presentation of the component. You can also map CMS data from XM Cloud. So you basically hook a BYOC component up to like a template, and you can also hook it up to like external data from other sources. So that's a little bit of the benefit compared to Next.js. I had a look at the performance, and I think the Next.js JSS components are like the most optimized performing components way of doing it. Then BYOC and then Components Builder. Yeah, so there are some documentation links, and I'll share these slides later on my my blog, and maybe we can add them to this SUG Jaipur meetup space as well. So yeah, definitely check out these links, like introducing yeah, basically it goes into Next, Components Builder, but also like BYOC. So the prerequisites, there aren't many prerequisites. The only downside, it's only available in XM Cloud. I don't know if Sitecore is actually thinking about that this should be available on other headless sites as well. Maybe, yeah. I have to see if it's actually available on like a headless implementation on-prem or Azure PaaS as well. I don't think it wasn't, but yeah, now I'm kind of doubting. But you need to be at least on JSS 21.6. I think currently the JSS team is already, the latest version is at like 21.7 dot something. But make sure to at least be on 21.6, because that's where they actually implemented BYOC. Yeah, the features of BYOC. So bring your own components appear in the interface of XM Cloud like native components. The component code is basically stored in your repo. So unlike like the components builder, it's not completely set up and stored somewhere in that SaaS application like components builder. But basically your code will be stored in your own repository like your Next.js components. The benefit like Next.js is that also in BYOC you get hot reloading. to see your changes immediately reflected in pages and on your front-end website. There's a flexibility to actually create your component using your own tools, dependency, and techniques. So if you have like basically you have all the control in your repo over it. BYOC components can be reused across sites in XM Cloud. And yeah, I briefly already touched upon that on the agenda. The UI is completely generated automatically in pages based upon the configuration of the JSON schema. Yeah, like I mentioned before, you can map it to both configuration data as well as external data. Content orders can edit the configuration data for like a BOC component in pages. Yeah, and unfortunately, there is no inline field editing in in the experience editor and pages like normal Next.js components. Let me see. Okay, yeah, there are two BYOC rendering modes. Yeah, I think it states here well that the hybrid rendering mode is probably the way to go. The hybrid rendering mode is like a blend of server-side and client-side rendering. So it pre-renders the components on the server. So that will give us faster initial rendering and better SEO optimizations. It supports server-side indexing, and it allows for static designs before the full app initialization. And components, BYOC components should be added to like, there are two configuration files, one for hybrid and one for client side. Let me quickly show you. So I do have, so we do have an index client TSX file where we, yeah, this is where BYOC client mode components should be added, like imported, and in the hybrid, we need to we basically import our components in this file as well. So in your if you set up like an SXA project, yeah, let me maybe talk to you about this a little bit later. We'll get back to this. Yeah, the client side renderings, however, render completely on the client side. So it's very ideal for interactive functionality where you maybe your component still needs to make like a call to an API and then should render out the data, but the whole configuration is then done for the BYOC component, but it's more like client side based. Yeah, it's a lot of theory in the beginning before actually we'll return to the demo. So how are we going to build BYOC components? So option one is external code base. So it could be that you have these React component library that is hosted somewhere externally, and you want to be able to actually make them available in XM Cloud. So in order to do that, in your external code base, you would have to install the BYOC components SDK, which is like a client side npm package. Then you have to import that. You have to register the component yourself in the components library. You have to set up like a rendering host in order to that are hosting your React components. So that's all very cumbersome. So I'm also not going to touch upon this. But option two is basically because we want to have control over our BOC components code. So we can do JSS scaffold and auto, and then it has an auto register in there of your component. So maybe I can quickly show you how to do that. So of course, so in order to actually set up like an XM Cloud project and front end, you basically use the XM Cloud Foundation. What is it called? GitHub. Hold on. XM Cloud Foundation head. Yes, and it's not this one. So yeah, it's basically this one. So Sitecore Labs has a XM Cloud Foundation head, and if you want to do like an XM Cloud project, you first of all need to have like a access to the XM Cloud portal from Sitecore, and then you basically do like create a new repository based upon this template, and that's what I've done here as well. And this will in the source, you will see this SXA starter directory, which is the next application, the Next.js application. And it now comes with a folder without these two components, but basically with the setup. So so what we can do is basically, so in order to actually create a BYOC component, normally creating a Next.js component, at least if you're using Next.js or JSS, you basically would do JSS scaffold and then like create a component. So now if I would create like a BYOC image component, then I can actually pass in a parameter dash BYOC, and that will make sure to, instead of just creating a normal Next.js component, it will actually scaffold a BYOC component. So that's the very important option. I don't know if you can actually see it, but and because of passing in this src BYOC, then it will make sure that it will create like a BYOC image component. I'm not going to use that image, but as you can see here, now it created this BYOC image component with some image props. It has a component which has a basic implementation, but as you can see here, it already provides you the skeleton code for registering this component with front end as a service. Front end as a service is basically used for the components builder, but also for BYOC. So that is how you basically scaffold out a BYOC component. Yeah, and then so I created two components, a promo component and an advanced component, and I'll show these later on in action. And this is like a more extended implementation where we have a little bit more of a component, a BYOC promo, and this has like a more so it has more fields, more properties, but I'm also doing something with the UI. And this is all based upon that JSON schema specification. Once we actually created those components, we need to then import them in either like the client or like in that hybrid mode. So you basically do like an import of that specific component. There's great documentation from Sitecore on this, but it's not that there are many examples out there. Now that JSON schema form, so it's basically a React component that's capable of using a JSON schema to declaratively build and customize web forms. So the schemas can be found here at the JSON schema, and it uses the UI schema, and you can basically see that back in this. And this would be like the UI schema providing customization of form UI. So I can do all kinds of things here in order to make up the component. So yeah, so you'll see it in action later on. It's based upon the JSON schema standard. There are structure and validation configuration options. So, and now I have to see how I can actually, no, I have to do it like this. Okay. Yeah, so this URL React JSON schema form, and this is basically, so this declarative syntax in the end creates a form where the content authors can actually do their configuration for the data that the component should actually have. As you can see here, they have all kinds of UI additions to have it autofocus, to have labels, have placeholders in there, and that's what I'll be doing as well. It has many examples of like arrays, like drop downs. So in order to really be able to create a good BYOC component, you have to dive into this whole JSON schema. Especially that this one will be a site that you're frequently visiting. Let me see where my. So that was basically the playground that I already showed you. There are a number of types like string, number, Boolean. You can create entire objects, integers, arrays. A string will render out like as a single line text input. Are you still able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, because my microphone hold on for a second. My cable is. Yeah, I'm back, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, that's better for me. Yeah, so somehow my it's probably my earpieces that are wrong. So you can use an array to actually, for example, to create a dropdown in the end in the UI. But you can possibly also need to be able to actually let the user select multiple options. So there are all kinds of different arrays. Yeah, so make sure once you're actually trying to check out BYOC, make sure to actually check out this the URL of the JSON schema form, where you can just play and get ideas and then implement them in your own code. Yeah, how are we going to use BYC? We had the code. We basically registered the component and do the import, and then in Pages it'll become instantly available, where we can then drag and drop the component in, do the configuration, click update, and the component will actually render itself. So yeah, so you guys have been getting all these theory things, but let's see it in action. Yeah. So okay, yeah, I'm here. I set up a headless collection, a headless site, and basically created a page BYOC. So this is by default if you install that basic site from Sitecore. I don't know if the SUG Jaipur already had some XM Cloud presentations. I would be able to probably do that as well.
Yeah, we had that.
How to set this up. So so this might look familiar. Oh, let me just reload this page because this session apparently expired. Yeah, so we have a page. So I set up a BYOC page here, and because let me just try to get back here, because in the hybrid I already imported, so I have commented this one out. The other component I'll demo that later. So I imported that BYOC promo component, and as you can see here, I do have like a couple of properties, like a image URL. So you don't have like an image field. You basically have to paste in the image URL. I've got a text field, a URL, and basically the text that should be, I call it URL text. It'll be used for like a link. We can have like a required property here that actually says, okay, text, image URL, and URL should at least be filled in by the user. I was here, yeah. So let me just add a column splitter. So by default, so this is something custom from me, the BYOC promos, and by default, you when you actually inherit from that XM Cloud Foundation hat, and you install the various modules, which in the end on the side, if you do like add like a side module. Oh, it already has all the modules installed. We can probably do. Where are the modules? Yeah, you can basically see here if you install like all the modules like media, you basically get these components available, which are implemented by Sitecore, and they basically offer a couple of SXA starter components out of the box. So in order to demonstrate the differences between BYOC and the Next.js component, I'm first going to add like a Next.js component to this page. So I'm going to like add a promo. So this is a Next.js promo. At least that's how I call that data source item. Let's just configure it. I don't know what beautiful building this is, but I was Googling for like Jaipur and noticed so many great buildings and palaces, I guess. Might be a
Yeah,
hotel. I don't know.
Jaipur is famous for this. Like it's in Hawa Mahal. It's called Hawa Mahal.
Skol Havamel.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Looks great. So this is my next JS JSS component. Yeah, as you can see here already, I can select the image. You can just change it, right? You have inline editing on that Next.js component. So link text, check out like kaye.nl and like HTTPS. Okay, so it renders out as a link. I can even do styling on, because Sitecore provided on these components some styling, right? And like a button style. So now I've got my Next.js component, and so I created this BYOC component, which basically tries to mimic this SXA starter component. As you can see, I just added that BYOC promo component on there. You can actually specify like any image. This is just a thumbnail that I said. It's basically pulling that directly from the internet. So so that works as a component image. So as you can see here, I'm not able to immediately edit like the image, the text, the button, the link. It doesn't provide like the link type. I could switch it to external, internal. So that's completely different. Let me just copy this image address. But you do get this. You can set up the configuration on the component to the configuration here, or you can map it to like a data item. I've not set up any template because I just want to focus on this. And basically, I'm just pasting in this. Yeah, this write a great promo text. So that's a placeholder. That was actually so that was actually, yeah, here. So now if I do like a save, I don't know if it actually, maybe I should recheck it. It doesn't update right now, but normally it should. Anyways, let me just, okay, this is a BYOC promo and a create and I'll check. So I'm basically updating this. So got the Next.js component, BYOC component. They're very similar. And this is a very simple copy of the promo component, but the Next.js promo component that Sitecore actually came out of the box with has like way more styling options. So for example, if they want to make this like a hero, it basically has like this, and it sets CSS classes, etc. So in order to oh, I'm getting a phone call, I have to call it away. In order to basically allow a BYOC component to have all these options like spacing and add highlights, content alignment, I have to really configure this this all, because all this spacing, for example, and highlight and content alignments. So a normal Next.js component is actually getting the data from that through like the styles here, like spacing. You got like indent top. It has a particular CSS class like indent top, indent bottom. Content alignment has position left, position center, which are like rendering out these icons and this UI. So in my hybrid mode, I'm going to so I set up a let me just save this. I don't know what, I know why it's not picking it up. And I probably won't be able to when I do a refresh now. I have to make some configuration, which I undid, I guess. Oh, there it is actually. Okay. It is, it seems, yeah, it is picking it up, my Docker. So it's actually picking that up. So I created an advanced promo component in order to have all these different styling options available as well. But I'm not able with BYOC to actually completely create this this UI, because it just works like what's described here. So let's first have a look here at the advanced promo component. Yeah, so basically I did some descriptions here that render out as, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, this is of course the old one. let's just before I actually remove this, I wanna show you something. This configuration that I did, it basically ends up in the presentation layer of so here in the headless layout controls, we got this BYOC wrapper. And this is basically where all the data configuration that I put in that BYOC component, that's how it is stored. So it's stored in the BYOC component data component props field as a JSON value. Okay, so now I'm going to remove this this normal one, and I'm going to add this this more extended one. Let's just copy that image address once more. Now I have to reconfigure it, of course. And now you basically let me just first update this. So because I added that link, so now I'm basically saying, okay, hey, I'm basically mimicking everything that Sitecore offered, but I wanted to do it BYOC style. So I can do like a check. So instead of yeah, I think these were check boxes as well, but I have to let me just update it here. And I think, yeah, okay, these were check boxes as well. You have like sections like promo and then a section image, section comment. That's something that that I did as well. Promo, image, comment. And then apparently I wanted to mimic like a promo hero. And now I'm basically achieving the same result as this normal component. It's a little bit aligned a little bit differently, probably because I'm missed something. Maybe I set something up here in terms of styling. Nah, not sure. Yeah, so I'm not able to actually create something like this, spacing, add highlight, content alignment. So what I did for the BYC component was basically like the spacing. You basically get this array of multiple values, and then top and then bottom. Yeah, oh. And now I have to do it again. And then top and then bottom. You have to, yeah, you really have to make sure to actually update. So now it has given this a little bit more of top margin or padding and some bottom margin, as you can see here. Yeah, so yeah, and in order to actually create those sections as well, you really have to nest every property. Like, hey, I want to create some kind of a styling section, and then within, so that'll be an object with a particular title, and then this section has more properties like basic site. And in order to get a drop down, you basically do like an enum. And so basic site, for example, and that's something that that Sitecore offered. There's a difference between this one and this one, because this one has like an items property, and the items property with a couple of enums actually allows us to select multiple values, where if you do the enum directly, you basically only, you still have an array or a drop down, but you only select like one item. So this one actually only allows me to actually select one item, where like the other drop downs allow you to select like multiple items. It adds a border here. So that's this is BYOC. So this is basically the implementation that I did to actually show the comparisons. Okay, my mic. I'm going to get rid of the cable. I'll be back in like 10 seconds. Am I back?
Yeah, you are.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we are able to hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I just switched off my microphone because I don't know what's wrong with that cable. I'm sorry. So sorry. Maybe you have to edit the video, I guess, when it ends up on YouTube. So check out the BYOC documentation, and on GitHub, Sitecore actually is offering some more examples of client-side rendering modes, but also hybrid rendering modes. I wrote up a couple of blogs on basically what I demoed today, so you can go through it like step by step. Let me just. Oh no, I have to completely do it like this. So I created a. Back when I was investigating this, I had a first look at. There's a blog on first look on BYOC. So I basically do this as well, except with a different image. And I explain a little bit more on like all the various options that you have. You can basically go through this, and I think I already open source this the code, but currently I will be open sourcing. It's currently still at private. I'll open source this in a separate SUG Jaipur repo. I got one how to like build which goes more in depth on like the drop downs, the checkboxes, and the nesting of the sections that we basically see here, like the content alignment, add highlight, etc. So basically, this is for where your data you can construct all kinds of interfaces with it, and you have to do it through like this JSON the JSON React schema configuration. So this one is actually on validation, help text, placeholder text, drop down, multi-select, and then there is another one on validation. And you can do all kinds of, for example, first name should be maximum, like, I don't know, like a title should be maximum length of like 50 characters. Numeric validations, array validations. So check out these blogs. I have to do it like this. Make sure to check out these blogs, and the GitHub repo will be made publicly available at this. So I'm going to make the changes. I commit those and publish this and put it on my blog. One special thanks to Valier, who I'm oftentimes working for. They allowed me to actually authenticate against the XM Cloud portal. So I'll be able to actually create these demos for you. Yeah, big thank you, Rinku, for having me submit. Yeah, check out my blog and let me know if there are any questions.
Okay, yeah, we have 2 questions in the chat.
Yeah,
maybe 3, so we can take it one by one. First, by Kamal, the question is it possible to utilize Sitecore XM Cloud form controls within the BYOC wrapper?
You mean like XM Cloud Forms?
Let me unmute to Kamal, so maybe he can better explain. Hey, Kamal.
You mean like the XM Cloud Forms builder and then use that in BYOC?
Yes.
BYOC is it's mainly for it's mainly for like for data entry for your content. So Forms is a different application where you basically create a forms in a form application, then it becomes available in pages as well here in the components, and then you basically drag that form into like a different. So it from my understanding, it has nothing to do with BYOC, and you probably also would not be able to maybe you should have then some kind of a single line text field where you basically put in the address of that form and then it should render out like underneath or something. That's probably what you're trying to achieve. I've not explored that, and it would be nice maybe to explore, but I also then I have to understand how if I've set up like a XM Cloud form, I have to understand what, because that once you actually drag like a XM Cloud form on a page as well, I know that Sitecore is adding I think a front end as a service wrapper as well around that component. So I have to see how we can maybe mimic that functionality. I hope that answers a little bit of your question, but yeah.
Okay, I guess this answers your questions. The next question from Rinku. As we have different to create component, then is there any preference advantage which you want to use?
Could you repeat the question, because I didn't 100% understand it?
Rinku, can you please explain your question?
Sure. So, like as we have seen that we have different ways to create the component XM clouds, like Next.js or component builder or BYOC.
Yeah.
So there is any preference when to use what?
Yeah, that is a great question. This is very new. It allows for like the configuration completely through code. So you would be able to, there are some downsides, however, you don't get the inline experience like I mentioned. You have, but it's still, it is still a Next.js component, but you're not able to like use the use all these fields from the JSS library, so you don't get all these inline editing right. So you won't be able to use like rich text fields and text and all those fields that come from JSS. So you're losing something, and it has a it's at the moment less performing. Yeah, so then content audits will have to do it like this. I think what the future will look like, but that's not something that Sitecore is acknowledging. The probably will in the end the future will be a little bit the best of like both worlds or something. Like, hey, with there should be some kind of a easier way to actually configure things for field, but also still maintain like the inline editing, but maybe less with the need of like importing these specific Next.js like fields and because oftentimes like front-enders don't want to really use too much of like specific CMS SDKs because this will the front-end component will have a dependency, of course, on this SDK. And by using a more generic open source thing where you then just register something, it has it has a lesser dependency, but yeah, we have to see what the future brings. But yeah, at the moment, I think the way forward is just using Next.js, JSS.
Okay, thank you. And the next question, like, you have shown two different modes for rendering the component in BYOC. So is it like same we had SSG and SSRS?
No, yeah, it's completely different. So I know when you do, for example, npm run build in your next application, you have a specific mode. By default, it's probably SSG. It will create these static things where, and I have to see if I can actually, so this is the BYOC page. Let me just, this is the front end app. So what happens is inspect. So here in the page there will be some kind of a BYOC registration of those components with the fields, but also with the this is what ends up in the page source code for the BY. It registers those components, and then here, when later on, we have this front-end as a service external data configuration here, where we basically have our specific configuration for this component. So first of all, above it does like the all the available options for the Bring Your Own Components registration. And then in the component itself, it has the configuration for those component properties, which I showed you, which were stored in JSON. That's basically this. But in terms of, this will be coming from the layout service as well, and it will be like statically then end up in pages that actually have this component. But every page will have this BYOC registration component. So if I go to like the home page, you basically still see this registration because I registered two components in my code. Of course, you don't have that component on like this page, so you also don't have that specific data, but it does inject something, which is also, in my opinion, only the pages that are actually using a particular component, BYOC component, should actually have this registration. So yeah, that's something that I send over to Sitecore as well, to not like because this is a little bit clogging up the main thread in terms of performance. And yeah, so you, when using BYOC and registering your components, you get a little bit of a performance penalty for that. So yeah, so at the moment I wouldn't recommend using BYOC, but yeah, they are working on this because it was just released on, I think I wrote it in my first blog post or something. I think that this was maybe released with JSS 21.6, and I guess that will somewhere in the beginning of January. So that's like 3 months ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I guess we don't have any question. We don't have any question for now.
Okay.